The French Open begins May 24th and it's already making headlines before a single ball has been struck. The defending champion has pulled out with an injury. And at the same time, the world's top players are staging a coordinated protest over prize money. Two stories breaking at once, one on the court, one off it. Let's take them one at a time. First, the on-court news. The defending champion, Carlos Alcaraz, will not be playing at Roland Garros this year. Alcaraz isn't just any champion here, he has owned this clay. He won Roland Garros back-to-back in 2024 and 2025. And last year's final was one for the history books. He came from behind to beat world #1 Jannik Sinner in a 5-set marathon. It lasted 5 hours and 29 minutes. So why is he out? A wrist injury. Alcaraz felt pain in his right wrist and forearm during a first-round match at the Barcelona Open on April 14th. He pulled out of that tournament the very next day, and that was just the beginning. After Barcelona, he withdrew from the Madrid Open, the Italian Open, and finally the French Open as well. On April 24th, the world #2 officially announced his withdrawal. Further medical tests had revealed the wrist injury was more serious than first hoped. He wrote on Instagram that the most prudent thing was to be cautious, to skip both Rome and Roland Garros, while waiting to assess the situation and decide when to return. And it gets worse. This injury didn't just take him out of the French Open, it also cost him Wimbledon. He was diagnosed with tenosynovitis, an inflammation of the tendon sheath in the wrist. He will miss the entire grass court season, including Queen's and Wimbledon. Missing 2 majors in the same year is something he hasn't done since 2020. What makes this especially painful is how brilliantly his 2026 season had started. He won this year's Australian Open, beating Novak Djokovic in 4 sets. He became the youngest man ever to complete the career Grand Slam. He hit the peak of his career, and then ran straight into a wall-named injury. And Alcaraz isn't the only one missing. Look at the men's singles lineup and the gaps are striking. Lorenzo Musetti, Holger Rune, Jack Draper, big names, all absent, leaving holes scattered throughout the draw. So who benefits most from all these empty spots? The answer is clear. World #1, Jannik Sinner. Sinner is in the form of his life right now. He has swept this season's clay court Masters events, Monte Carlo, Madrid, and Rome. And he's riding a record-breaking 34-match winning streak at the Masters 1000 level. Remember, he held championship points against Alcaraz in last year's final, and still lost. This is his chance to settle that score, with the rival who kept stopping him now off the court. There's also an emotional storyline waiting at this tournament. France's beloved veteran Gaël Monfils will play Roland Garros for the final time in his career. Having slipped outside the top 200, he received a wildcard to compete. It's his farewell, on home soil. Now to the off-court story, and this may be the real powder keg of this year's tournament. Before the event even begins, the world's top players have launched a coordinated media protest. A group of the top 20 men's and women's players is leading the charge, including Novak Djokovic, Jannik Sinner, Aryna Sabalenka, and Coco Gauff. So what exactly are they doing? According to L'Équipe, players plan to limit their talks with reporters. Just 15 minutes during Friday's traditional pre-tournament media day. They'll walk out of press conferences after 15 minutes. And refuse interviews with French Open media and the main rights holders, TNT Sports and Eurosport. However, to avoid fines, they'll still do short flash interviews right after their matches. Here's the cleverest part. Why exactly 15 minutes? It's no accident. The players chose 15 minutes as a reference to the Slam's average prize money, roughly 15% of revenue. In other words, if you give us 15% of the revenue, we'll give you exactly 15 minutes. Let's look closer at the numbers. The French Open's 2026 prize pool is $72.3 million, up 9.5% from last year. But by the players' estimates, that's only about 15% of the tournament's projected revenue. For comparison, the Australian Open recently raised its pool by 16% to $75 million. The US Open by 21% to a record $85 million. And Wimbledon offered $72.6 million in 2025. Yet all of those figures fall short of the 22% of revenue mark the players are demanding. And the players' complaint isn't simply that it's too little. They claim their share of Roland Garros revenue has actually declined from 15.5% in 2024 to a projected 14.9% in 2026. The pie is growing, but their slice is shrinking. In fact, top players including Sabalenka and Gauff threatened earlier this month to boycott the slams altogether if their compensation didn't improve. The organizers, naturally, pushed back. The French Tennis Federation, which runs the tournament, said it regrets the initiative. It says the protest penalizes the media, broadcasters, staff, and the entire tennis community. So here's where we stand. On the court, the defending champion has vanished with an injury. Off the court, the sport's biggest stars have gone quiet in protest over prize money. An empty throne, and silent champions. The French Open kicks off May 24th, and it's shaping up to be one of the noisiest Grand Slams in recent memory.